G'day, my name is Dainsy, and this is my serious face. It is decision time. Can I finally go full business human out here? First, I have a few very brief backstories in this video to explain how I got to this point before I can discuss do I have a viable business and where I go from here. I'm also going to share my biggest YouTubing side hustle payday, but I will save that for right at the end for those that are actually interested. This entire video is going to be based around my workbench and basically getting myself organized for, what comes next. Which means plenty of woodworking eye candy as we go. There is 3 projects on the go, as well as a nice flashback to the original Workbench videos, in case you've not seen them. And who doesn't love a montage? Let's start with my vice and the vices backstory. I have had a few. So I broke this old Dawn vice a while ago, and you'll be shocked that I was doing things that I should not have been doing, and I literally blew out the cast iron that allows the vice to function like a vice. Can you hear my brain ticking over? Me too. I actually got this vice off Facebook Marketplace, 50 kangaroo skins, and a mate from work restored it for me. He likes to find old rusty things, clean them up, and bring them back to life. This is his mental health side hustle, which I think is pretty cool and important. So to me, it is not just a $50 second-hand vice. It has to be returned to the workbench. After the Dawn vice died, I made a temporary pipe clamp vice, which was part of the clamp challenge from the Clamp podcast, and that did the job pretty well while I worked on my John Hines twin screw vice. What I did for that vice was use a laser cutter to create all the layers of the vice. However, the point of the project for me was to improve my skills, specifically around reading a more detailed set of plans, problem solving, and how I would convert his plans into 3mm layers of ply to laser cut. And, of course, add some broken skateboard bling to fluff it up and make the thumbnail a bit more clickier, which by the way made no difference. I obviously busted that vice as well. I mean, it still works, however the twin screw mechanism became a 2 times single screw vice. Not ideal, and it was also a very, very slow vice to wind in and out. Bit carnage under here. Originally that was to reduce the amount of stock I had and the available thickness of timber I had, so did the job. Okay, let's call this Mark 3. Because of the damage to this vice, I actually needed a bit more support down here where the actual 3-ring circus goes. So I'm going to put that on, then I can do something here to de-chunkify it just a little bit. Then this will be the faceplate. So I've saved all this nice "How's your father" for that. So I'll get it back on the CNC and I'll recut this to work with that. So here we are back with the Dawn, doing all the woodwork things to mount this beauty flush with the bench face, as well as coming up with a fix for the carnage. Check it out! Check it out! And I will note, yes, that if I had a schmick about metal, I could have just got some steel welded back onto the face of the vice and all would be well, but I don't. So this DIY wood option is the next best thing, and it also just lets me fluff around out here, spend a bit more time in the shed, getting organized while pondering life out here, and all that needs to be done before I make the big D. Alrighty, the quick Dainsy backstory. This is not me. This is me. For my full-time job, I'm a rescue helicopter air crewman. I work on a flying ambulance. I'm the dude that sends people up and down the winch cable. I don't jump out of the aircraft, nor do I fly it, unless things have gone pretty pear-shaped for the pilot. Going back a few steps, I went to high school, which was the only time I did any prior woodwork. Not long after school, I joined the army as an infantry soldier, and just after a few years, I figured out that why walk around the bush with your house on your back busting a freckle when I could fly around the bush. So I joined Army Aviation and I spent the remainder of my time in the Green Machine as a Black Hawk helicopter air crewman. And then once the novelty of that wore off, the logical transition to civilian life was the rescue helicopter industry. So here I am now, an emergency services shift worker. I work an equal time roster, so 4 days on, 4 days off, or 2 day shifts, 2 night shifts, 4 days off. And I have done that roster for the last 10 years. And what that roster has done for me in the last 7 years is give me the time to have this out of control side hustle / small business out here in the shed. Okay, see this bit? It needs to be in there first. The answer is to assemble the vise up here and then to screw it on now that it all works. Let's do that, I hope. I often get asked, how do you manage to get everything done and have a full-time job? A family, build the projects and make the videos. How do I basically work full-time and work full-time? Well, the reality is the roster. With the kids at school and me on days off, there is actually way more time available compared to, say, your Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job. Plus there is a few mornings before night shifts, as long as I'm not tired and I don't have to sleep. And I could still leave my weekends free for family time. But saying that, in recent years, if my wife is working over the weekend and the kids are doing their thing, then there's a few more hours of shed time if I want. $1984. In the first few years of the pallet punter era, I did go a bit crazy, smashing out the woodwork. Highly addicted, loving learning, loved sharing the journey on Instagram, and of course, I had found a side hustle / hobby that was paying for itself and helping add to the family budget. I would literally use every single minute during the day while the kids were at school, to the point I'd be so hot and sweaty, covered in dust, that I'd run out, jump in the pool, towel off, race to school and pick up the kids. Then, while I was waiting in the pickup zone for the kids, I could get a few short videos done for Instagram or whatever. You know, the good old days of Instagram where everything was a hit, you interacted with lots of people, your account grew, and it was fun and contributed to the overall addiction of this thing. Okay, so I broke it. I broke this. My repair jobby cannot take the force of the doodad at the back here pushing on this timber. It basically cracks this piece out this way. So all that effort, I'm probably going to have to get this thing repaired with some sort of magical welding caper. Went from hero to zero in about 3 seconds. All right, look, I'm no engineer, so you can see the crack. If this faceplate is held tight there, then the mechanism behind can push on that wood. It's not putting pressure on the timber, and it should be fine. That's easier said than done, so leave it with me. That'll do for today. Right, talk about over-engineering things, but that's what you got to do when you use wood sometimes, and not one piece of plate steel. Anyway, here's the solution. Got some little L brackets here all screwed together, plus the side plate, which prevents this from being pushed through because of that big broken hole in there. So, but this hopefully should now do the job. Okay, no cracking sounds, that's good. As I shifted into YouTube, I continued making pallet punter type build videos. However, I started to choose projects that were either a little more interesting, or there was a technique or trick that I wanted to try and of course share it with you, or it was just something that I wanted to make, which was not necessarily what the core audience was interested in. For example, all of the wood turning videos. Then came the video that changed things very rapidly for me in the shed. I made a video about how I started woodworking and made money, It was quite a simple backstory of me that told everyone exactly what I did, and it showed a lot of people that they could do it too. The video was responsible for bringing the vast majority of you, the subscribers, to the channel. And if you're still here, well, thank you. I actually made that video not long after I witnessed the channel blow up of the story of Jesper Makes, and how one video can actually turn the tides and help your channel grow. But not just that, Jesper's video reminded me who my core audience was and why they were watching my videos in the first place. My channel was starting to lose direction, and he managed to flick the light bulb on in my brain. And I refocused my attention on the palette. So the artist formerly known as the Palette Punter was back. However, I decided on the brand Dana made, a bloke making things in his shed with whatever recycled and reclaimed timber I could get my hands on, but mostly pallet wood. The few videos that followed on from the blow up origin story pretty much confirmed the direction of the channel, and that is the channel that is chugging along today and now has 150,000 subscribers. And of that, there is a huge bunch of encouraging, motivated and inspired humans who also enjoy the simple ethos of just get started, be excellent to each other, and have a go with whatever you have, learn as you go, make mistakes, and have a laugh with like-minded people on the internet. The woodworking workbench backstory. This is probably my favourite project because, well, it is mine and it lives here. The goal for this project, other than the obvious, which is I wanted a nice bench, was to ramp up the woodworking skills and learn a few more things. The intention was to have the workbench on the go as a side project only, to do a little bit at a time when time permitted. It was a conscious decision to slow down and enjoy the project as much as possible. Initially, I was not even going to film the build because back then I assumed that the workbench build had well and truly been done. However, Mr. Cuffy convinced me that I 100% needed to make a video of the workbench. So I did. However, the project remained on the same easygoing time schedule. I jokingly called this my 4th year apprenticeship project, and I chose the Cuffy's Aussie Ocker workbench plans after watching all of Cuffy's workbench build videos. There was many. I highly recommend you do the same if you are about to build a workbench. And for the YouTubers out there, I also highly recommend that you have a workbench build on your channel. You just never know if that is going to be your one hit video. I do wonder if mine would have been a bigger hit had I released it after the origin story video. Anywho, back to the bench. There was so many woodworking techniques to try in this build, and on top of that, I used the project as my justification to get myself some decent chisels and learn how to sharpen, with the hope of doing more hand tool work. And I'm still hopeful. But that does bring me to this point in time, where I'm now making a few modifications to my workbench so I can be more productive, have more options, and get organised and have the right tools for the job, if you will. I need a bit more girth. My tools need a bit more girth. You know what I'm saying? The other project I have going on at the moment, to again help me get more organised, is a nice wall-mounted toolbox for the old hand tools I was given, as well as some of my other hand tools I've collected along the way. This large box was originally made to house one of my earlier laser machines, and it also does tick the box for background video fluff. So that is what I wanted to use. It merely needs a few modifications to give the main case and the doors a little more depth, so it's actually useful. Now, don't get too excited. There is not going to be a big reveal of an amazingly organised OCD level toolbox. Sorry. So I don't have any good tips on how to do this well. You'll be shocked that this box isn't perfectly square. What I can do is make some micro adjustments at one end, have 3 screws, and just move this in and out, and then you can use one of the other holes to test so you're not going back into the same screw hole. once this one's okay, I'll do the same thing. As long as the front doors line up together, then I'll be happy. It's a toolbox, but trying to be better. Trying. Oh. Real estate issues. Oh, so close. That's cool. Again, this shed has always been about evolution. Nothing happens overnight, and all these tools did not just appear here one day. And I generally don't get things right on the first try when it comes to shed organisation anyway. So this cabinet will be no different. It will evolve over time as I decide what actually needs to be in the cabinet. Some things may just be for show, some because they're sentimental, but mostly because I need them to be easily accessible around the Workbench woodworking arena. However, to get started, I've been using the laser cutter to make all sorts of boxes, drawers, racks, holsters, and they are somewhat modular, so the toolbox puzzle can be changed over time and eventually be something pretty cool, which, like my workbench, I hope I'll be able to hand those both down to the kids one day, if they want them. The next workbench modification is a wagon vise or tail vise. This vise may be more a hybrid of a wagon vise and tail vise, but it does not really matter. What matters is it is cool as a cool thing, and I did not destroy my bench in the process. And it is going to be very handy for the handy, tooly, worky. I do think I'll make another modification though, and fix the vise screw so the jaw moves back and forth along the screw, as opposed to the screw winding outward from the end of the bench and taking up valuable access / walkway space. I also thought I'd maybe get some through the bench clamping options for shaping random pieces, etc. But I think that may be a Mark III vise in the future. So my bench is looking pretty sweet, has 2 working vices, and my hand tools are slowly finding a home, and the general area is looking pretty organised. Job done and off my plate. The woodworking side hustle has mostly evolved into a woodworking content side hustle. That is the main business and the focus, but is that alone enough to take a massive punt on? I believe you still have to have products or furniture or any other revenue stream you can develop. I still love making my custom mallets and getting those into as many maker hands as possible, but they can be a little time consuming, and that is why I end up doing them in batches a few times a year. So although I have been doing the maths, I'm still not 100% convinced. I've always said I'm building a backup plan out here in the shed with a goal to go full business human. And everything I do has that ultimate goal in mind. Can I quit my job and rely on YouTube ad revenue and sponsors alone? Absolutely not. It is far too risky for me. That is why I think you need all the other things in place as well. In fact, since my channel has started making good ad revenue, there has just been one monthly payday, one that could have replaced my full-time job. But I've not seen those numbers since. Revenue is not consistent. Just because you see big views doesn't necessarily translate to big dollars. They very much rapidly drop off. You need to have constant big hit videos for that to happen, and to hit those financial targets, or have a massive established channel, massive, which may eventually come with a heap more work improving my woodwork, projects and video, and I'm going to continue to try and do that. One thing I have noticed this year for a lot of makers and creators is they are really feeling the pinch financially. It is tough out there. When people have no spare money, they cannot spend on handmade or custom. They cannot spend on anything. The economy is an absolute shit show right now. We can all see that. But we all have to ride it out. Things will improve. They have to. So, like flying in helicopters, everything that I do comes with safety in mind. Everything is risk assessed. So, do I now take the risk on going full business human? Can I take a punt? Should I just take a punt? You know, surely. Which brings me to right now. It's decision time. The last few months I have been pondering the idea of stepping back off the roster into a training role for many reasons, like less night shifts, but also because I need a bit of a spell. The training role would actually take up a little more of my off days and my shed time, which I figured as long as I concentrate on quality over quantity, then all should be fine. It would probably mean a little bit longer between videos. However, all still manageable, and on we go as we are. So if I got that job, the decision will be made for me. Carry on doing both. Somehow. One more thing to cut out. One job left to go. Now, obviously, I'm going to come back to this and do the dovetail eventually, but there's one thing that can top this off now. And that is to put a chamfer on this edge. And this edge. And this one, and this one. And then I'm going to be feeling pretty good on the inside. Anywho, things at work, again, changed just recently. We have lost a lot of personnel, including my boss. He's on my good humans list. He is taking a spell himself, and well, his shoes need to be filled. And the person to do that right now looks a lot like me, apparently. So what does that actually mean right now? It means far less shed time, as this position very much looks like Monday to Friday. And it requires a little more brain power. I've said many times before, I would never work Monday to Friday ever again. Yet here I am accepting to do just that. And I'm not going to be one of those makers that needs to come out to the shed after dinner and work till midnight just to get my fix. That is not an option for me. I'll have some weekend warrior time or the occasional rostered days off to maybe do a few things. Let me say this though, Dynamite is not over, nor is the ultimate goal of going full business human. It is merely on hold for a short amount of time. This gig is actually temporary, and what it's actually going to do is give me a bit of a spell from trying to juggle both full-time jobs. I will still be making projects and videos. They may just not come out as frequently as I would like or have done in the past, but that's okay. Sometimes you just have to make the decisions that is the right thing to do. But saying that, if I did not have a mortgage or adult responsibilities, I know which decision I would have made. Okay, as promised, my biggest payday in the history of the pallet punter and Dynamite. Check it out. G'day, my name is not Mark.
It's Jacques.
Evan.
Dennis.
Yeah.
Silas, and
What's your name again? Is it Matthew?
We live at Large Cape Breton on the east coast of Canada. We like to make things, so we draw, we weave, we paint,
some of us bake, and some of us plant seeds for the garden.
and we help each other out along the way.
But all of a sudden, when the lockdowns came, we had a lot of time on our hands.
We built some shelves for a friend.
Then we built some other shelves for other friends.
We tried to fix someone's dresser, and that didn't go very well.
But we found out that we really liked doing this kind of work together. Around the same time, some folks from the local landfill approached us.
They wanted to get the word out about sorting garbage and making use of stuff instead of throwing it out. They asked if we could build some things out of wood that would otherwise become garbage.
We looked on the internet, but at first all we could find was stuff that probably should have gone to the dump. We kept looking, and one day we found this big, hairy spider. We watched every one of his videos.
At least one of us did.
Read all the comments, and started walking the way of the pallet.
This is the way.
So now this is what we do every day.
We gather pallets, we pry them apart. We get the nails out, we check for metal and pass them through the planer. We glue them up
Then we cleaned the shit out of it.
We just can't get over how beautiful this stuff is. And it was going to be garbage.
We kind of love how much work this work is, because now there's a job for everybody.
So we finished our biggest project yet. We glued up pallet blocks. We sanded and filled and sanded some more.
We made sure to check square and chamfer all the things.
We covered it with beautiful hard wax finish. And we built a conference table for those folks at the county who are trying to reduce the wood waste in our beautiful little corner of the world. We owe it all to you, Dainsy.
Originally, this video was meant to be an entry into your palette challenge contest. We missed that deadline by about a year and a half. But really, all we wanted to do with this video was to say,